Meeting is now called to order. Any items from the public? No, sir. Good morning.
All right. Thank you guys for having me up here. My name is Josh Mongold. I'm the board chair for the American Red Cross for the Greater Shenandoah Valley chapter. That encompasses Washington County, Maryland, Jefferson, Berkeley, Morgan, Hampshire, Hardy counties in West Virginia, Frederick County, Clark County, Warren, Shenandoah, and Page counties in Virginia, and the city of Winchester. So we encompass, basically the 81 corridor. So I appreciate you guys allowing me to be up here today. The executive director, she's having some GPS issues, so she's running late. But I was here to present a proclamation for you guys. As you know, natural disasters have been increasing in frequency and intensity and are occurring in areas that typically haven't seen large disasters. In 1980, the American Red Cross responded to an average of 3 national disasters a year. Last year, we responded to 27, and this year we're on target to double that number. You've seen the devastation caused by storms, most recently impacting North Carolina, Kentucky, and West Virginia, communities just like your own. Every county needs to prepare for disasters, so when roads and bridges get washed away and power lines and communication tools are down, families have the knowledge and resources they need to stay well until help can arrive. One of the unforeseen costs of disasters and inclement weather is the loss of blood products. When the blood drives have to close due to storms, we lose life-saving resources that cannot be replaced. I myself previously worked with the local hospital system here in my past life, and I was in the laboratory, so we ran the blood bank, and we pulled the statistics for it. 58% of the blood we use in Jefferson, Berkeley County or for hematology oncology patients. So that's your cancer patients, basically the chemo radiation, the bone marrow can't produce blood. So, the blood product need has to be harvested from a human host. It's not something they can synthetically make in the lab. The human body just doesn't accept synthetic blood. It recognizes it's not natural and kicks it out. The American Red Cross also helps prepare communities before disasters occur, whether big like North Carolina, Kentucky floods or small like a single family fire. Last year in Berkeley County, we collected nearly 900 units of blood, assisted approximately 20 families who experienced a disaster, installed about 20 smoke alarms, provided over 140 services to military veterans and their families, and trained nearly 900 people in life-saving skills. The American Red Cross could not fulfill its mission without the dedicated volunteers who give selflessly of their time and the generosity of our donors. And yet, due to the chronic state of our disaster relief operations, constant need for blood, we are always in need of blood drive sponsors, donors, volunteers, and financial donations. We are also actively expanding the American Red Cross board. I am a Berkeley County resident, and I do have my own business here in Berkeley County, so you have me as a representative for the county on the board. But we are actively expanding to people with community outreach and who support the Red Cross mission of alleviating human suffering by helping others in their time of need. So if you have any connections that might be a prospect for that, we'd gladly love to talk about that afterwards. So this 13th day of March 2025, I ask you to declare March as Red Cross Month to recognize the hard work and dedication of the volunteers who serve this community and the donors who support our mission. We also request members of Berkeley County to join us in our mission to alleviate human suffering and to be a beacon of hope to those experiencing their darkest hour. For those interested in helping, you can go to redcross.org or call 1-800-RED-CROSS. Thank you for your time and consideration. And then I got a copy of the proclamation you guys should have got that normally you guys do.
And we've had no communication. Didn't expect you.
Find out who Deborah was sending that to, find out where that breakdown, or you guys want to.
If you give it to Penny, we can do it next week. Sir, her card's over in our office. Just pick a card up. They'll give it to you. You're good to go.
Okay, perfect.
And listen, before you go, we do recognize the work that you do in this area and abroad, and we appreciate everything that you do. I come from a fire service background where a lot of times homes are destroyed or not habitable. And one of the very first calls that we make is to the Red Cross. And within a very short period of time, there's somebody from your agency there to help them and kind of show them that there is hope. Things from this point will get better from that point forward. So your services are very much appreciated, and thank you for what you do.
We appreciate you guys giving us that call, because obviously there's no formal thing that says somebody has to call the Red Cross. So Jesse Hott, our disaster relief guy, has good working relationships with all the fire departments. Something does happen, somebody does give us that family in need.
Thank you. Thank you, yes, sir. Need a motion to approve the agenda for March 13th.
If there's no modifications or changes, I move to approve.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Purchase order law. Anybody have any questions for Tracy? Hearing none. Internal budget revisions. Gary, you want to go with that?
Yes, sir. Sorry. You have one, the first one, I think it's just one. Yeah, it's one from Brian Ross asking to move $80,000 from his travel line item to his professional services line item. And there are funds there to accommodate.
Not 80,000.
Oh, 80, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, I got to move that dot a long way. $80. I've been dealing with bigger numbers for a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
The budget.
Thanks, Jim.
You scared the budget out of me.
Okay, change of status. We have a new hire recommendation received from the Honorable Joe Kinzer, prosecuting attorney for Isabella Loretta, as a victim advocate effective 3/28/25 with an annual salary of $50,676. Have a new hire recommendation received from the Honorable Anthony Petrucci, County Clerk, for Sandra Cackley as a deputy clerk effective 4/1/25 with an annual salary of $35,000. New hire recommendation received from the Honorable Larry Hess, assessor, for Bobby Ann Foltz as a personal property clerk with a hire date to be determined with an annual salary of $35,360. New hire recommendation received from the Honorable Rob Blair, sheriff, for Dallas Plank as a deputy sheriff effective 3/17/25 with an annual salary of $54,188. New hire recommendation received from Tim Zaya, Director of Community Corrections, for James Kennard as a drug screen technician effective 4/1/25 with an annual salary of $39,812. Change of status received from the Honorable Larry Hess, assessor, for the following employees for taking on additional duties and workload effective retroactive to January 1, 2025. Cody Lake clerk will be going from $54,000 to $57,000. Rhonda Loudon, appraiser supervisor, going from $69,075 to $72,075. Thomas Everhart, the appraiser, $41,000 to $44,000. James Coleman, appraiser, going from $42,300 to $45,300. Everyone was here for the March meeting. Next up, we have bond release recommendations from our engineering department, Doug Smith. Bond release for Pebble Ridge, Section 5, Phase 3F, Final Plat, BCP file number 2207-195, tied to BCP file number 2406-159, 2105-174, 2309-335, 63-04, and R 00500-15, LOC number 9000367, and that's made by the recommendation of engineering. Bond release, Spring Mills PUD, Phase 11, Section 2, lots 166 to 191, and that's tied to BCP number 2102-060, tied to Llama case 016-14 and 2102-074, bond number 1004335-018. Engineering also makes that recommendation. Have a bond release for Bentwood, Section 4, BCP file 124-05, and that's bond number CIC 1923404. We Also, that's going to finish that up on the bond release. Thank you, Doug. Anybody have any questions for Doug on that? We have a cancellation for canceled check. The county clerk has, finance has submitted that. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved, Mr. President.
Then properly moved in second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. We have nothing this week from the assessor's office. Mr. Boyd, we're at board and meeting reports.
Did not have any meetings this week. The Roundhouse meeting is moved to next week, so something about that.
Good. Commissioner Boyd, or Commissioner Hardy.
So I had a water board meeting this week. Unfortunately, I missed it due to a scheduling conflict, but I'm sure they did just fine without me. And then yesterday I had a Telemon Corporation meeting. That is another organization full of many acronyms that does a lot of work in the community for outreach and people in need. But my good friend Sandy Hamilton heads up that board, and I was happy to reunite with her on a board and work with her, and I'll be learning my way through that as the meetings continue.
Very good. Commissioner Whitaker.
No meetings. I have them all next week.
Very good. Mr. Cavitt.
Monday night, we had a farmland preservation meeting, and George Miller, I mentioned that to you last week, has resigned. He's moving to Iowa, so we're going to have 2 positions open. We're interviewing a couple more people today, and then again next week someone, so we're going to have 5 total to choose from. And they're planning, Reese is sitting back there now, I see her, a 25th anniversary of farmland. It's been 25 years. It's hard to believe this year that they've been in the program. So, and not quite 10,000 acres in preservation at this point. So it'll be probably in June, we're thinking, and should be a nice event. So Tuesday, Eddie and I met with the superintendent of schools. We usually schedule a monthly meeting when we're able to meet and just talk about how we can help each other and concerns on both sides. And I thought it was a very productive meeting, and it's just good. It's good to speak to the superintendent. He's got a difficult job, and we need to be their partner. And then Thursday, this morning, Eddie and Gary and I met with Judge McLaughlin. The new courtroom in the old jail looks very impressive, and it's almost ready to roll. So we're real close, and she seems to be very pleased with the situation. And I will credit her. She's very easy to work with and very cooperative. So she's been very patient during this process. But her new courtroom should be ready to roll here within the next week or so. So looking good. So that's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
If I could, to that point, Mr. Caddy, we should also thank Judge Deleghetti for being very patient, because Judge McLaughlin's move had held Judge Deleghetti up. So Judge Deleghetti was also very patient with us.
Yeah, we appreciate it. It just shows you our growing concerns here in Berkeley County and the help we need to address unfunded mandates like we have of providing court space and all those issues. So.
The only I had a few different meetings. LAPC met this week. They actually bumped their meeting time to 3:15. I was there, quite honestly, about 1:30. I spoke with Randy for a while. He said, they're not going to be here at about 3:15. I'm like, hey, going. So I checked their agenda. It was kind of light. Randy said there wasn't much going on. So I hit the road, quite honestly. So, we did meet with the superintendent on Tuesday, and, Steve's right. It's always good to hear from a different perspective of what's going on in our school systems. And, they're critically important to this community. And we do need to be a partner with them. A lot of times it's just collaborating and trying to make things work and connecting. I did have a development authority meeting this week. There's, as usual, there's still a lot of activity around here. that 81 corridor is still really hot, so there's a lot of stuff going on there. Gary and I have a Zoom call at 2 o'clock today. Our friends out of Jefferson County are having some issues with their day report, so we want to see if we can listen to them and see if there's anything we can do to help. That's a big deal for them and the folks that are in their programs. I do have a fire board meeting tonight, and as far as the jail is concerned, I'd really like to, not only the cooperation that we receive from the court system, the Supreme Court and everybody, but I want to thank Gary for his involvement in this, seeing this from day one to its near completion, on top of every issue that's going on there. So Gary, thank you for your efforts there. Okay.
Let me mention one other thing, sir, if I may.
Sure can.
I want to thank you, and you mentioned Randy Lilly. Both of you spent all day last Friday driving 5 hours to Poca, West Virginia, and 5 hours back after delivering all the goods that were collected in the community to help the flood victims in southern West Virginia. And we appreciate your efforts on that. And thank you. And I think it was a wonderful thing for Berkeley County to be able to do that for that community. It's devastating down there, and until you go through something like that, you can't imagine the experience. So thank you.
Well, it's when you have the opportunity and you have the ability to help people, that's what you should be doing, and that's what we did. John mentioned, how can we help? Maybe we can do this. Every fire department in the county, paid in volunteer, got involved. The sheriff's office, the city of Martinsburg, Walmart was a big partner in this. Our emergency management, and it does put you in a good position when you can help people who are really struggling. So I thank everybody, including this commission, for their support in making that happen. So, all right, let's see. We have a new application for Garland Elliott Jr. for the Farmland Protection Board. And
You just need to schedule him for
okay,
an interview.
yeah, we'll schedule him in. Penny, can you get him scheduled, please? And we have a letter of resignation received from George Miller from Farmland Protection.
He was given a plaque saying he was the longest-serving member of that board in the history of that organization in 25 years. So he was kind of proud of that. But he's moving to Iowa. So.
Okay, and we have no honorary commissioner this week. Betsy, are you here? We're just a few minutes ahead of schedule. If you would like to come on up, please. Betsy Plummer, she's a candidate for Farmland Protection. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Welcome.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name's Betsy Plummer. I live in Spring Mills area here in Berkeley County. I've lived in Berkeley County for about, since 2002, so over 20 years. I was formerly an assistant prosecuting attorney under Pam Neely. I was with the Attorney General's office as an assistant attorney general handling DUI matters, and been out in private practice in and out a little bit, and I'm currently working for Judge Glover in family court. So there was an opening on the Farmland Protection Board, and I have a very small farmette up at Spring Mills. We've got sheep, chickens, but my interest really in the Farmland Protection Board is my bachelor's degree is animal science from West Virginia University. One of our nearby neighbors, Brian Malat, has a farm in Farmland Protection. I think it's just a fabulous program. To see an area like Berkeley County where we have all this growth, all these pop-up mushroom subdivisions, and then even in Spring Mills, you've got 150 acres where you can step onto it, on a side-by-side or something, and you see muskrats, you see the hawks, you see the farmers farming the way they should be. And I think it's a wonderful program. I'd love to be involved in it.
Great. We're just going to ask you a few friendly questions, and we'll go from there, okay? Commissioner Boyd.
Are you familiar with the program? Have you
I am familiar with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is
I
there
reviewed it a little bit.
a little bit? Are there any things you'd like to see changed or added or done, or you just want to be involved and help?
I'd like to be involved in it. I mean, I've heard from some of the farmers that have the farmland protection that there's a lot of restrictions to it. So say their parents put it in farmland protection, and then it's 150 acres, and they have a barn or a family member that wants to put a house on it, and they're completely restricted from making any modifications. I think it would be interesting to explore that. Is there a way that you could allow maybe subtle modifications, but still stay true to the farmland protection easement and the nature of that? It's just I think it's a small area you could explore.
Mr. Hardy?
That's what I would have asked, if there was anything she was thinking that maybe needed to be changed or updated, or any policies that she thought that she would be interested in trying to change. So it kind of answers my question.
Very good.
I don't really have any questions. It's usually a comment that I'll make, that anybody that's willing to give back to their community is takes a lot to run this county, and it takes a lot of volunteers to make things happen. So thank you for wanting to apply for the board, and we'll see where it goes.
Thank you, County Commission, for everything you do. I mean, you've taken on a huge work with this county and growth, and I agree with you. I think you have to be involved in your community. I'm trying to step up.
Yeah.
I've met Betsy several times over the past, and she's familiar with one of our board members on farmland, and I know that he has a relationship with him. But again, to echo what Jim said, we appreciate the fact you're willing to serve our community, and just appreciate that you're willing to do that. Thank you. Thank you for being here today.
I have a little bit of a different question. When we are able, when the Farmland Protection Board is able to secure an easement on that property, it's obviously private property that naturally the general public does not have access to. It's a private farm. So what are your thoughts of the possibility of farmland protection also being able to be used for to purchase property for a park that the public can use, parkland?
Commissioner, I think that's an excellent idea. And I think it's a way that possibly you could expand the farmland protection easements and give it some different uses. Because you're absolutely right. One of the crucial things that I've seen here in Berkeley County that's amazing to me is some of the parks and the recreation that you created here in this county. I mean, and why can't you do that more, but in a way that you can compensate and bring in through the farmland protection easements, and then perhaps transfer that into a parks and rec situation. Right now, the restrictions, don't allow that. I think it would be an excellent idea to start to float the idea, to consider it. You have new senators, you have new delegates, and I think it's a new idea that certainly should be looked at. I think it would be a positive thing. You would just have to figure out restrictions on it. But I have heard from some of the farmers, they feel constricted, like, what can I do with this? I can't. And it could be a way that somebody perhaps would want to contribute to the community, and then they would see that it would go into a Parks and Rec situation, but perhaps the farming isn't there for that. But it would still be a way to give back to the community, but be compensated for the land.
Sure. Very good. Thank you. Yeah, we're still a few minutes ahead. Beth Pancoin? Picconi?
Tell us the correct pronunciation.
Poncione.
Oh, man, I was a mile off.
It's okay. My husband's family hails from Hampshire County, so Hampshire County, they might have understood that one. So it's a hard one to understand.
Oh, when you said it, I see it. There we go. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me this morning.
And just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you applied to be a candidate for farmland?
Sure. My name is Beth Morgan, was my maiden name, Poncio, and I hail from Arden. I apologize for my appearance. I just came from pulling a calf, so.
Well, you're pretty dressed up today.
Dad called and said, I need help, and I said, I'm dressed, and he said, come on. So anyways, I apologize for my appearance on my boots and things, but I grew up on a family farm in Arden. My grandparents bought it in 1953. Was a dairy farm, turned to cattle at some point along the way, beef cattle. Everybody got out of dairy in the 70s and 80s, and they followed suit. My brother and I both raised goats growing up for the 4-H FFA program. We were both heavily involved from 9 to 21 in both of those programs, which we both still are today. I graduated from West Virginia University in 2013 with a Bachelor's of Science in Agribusiness Management and Rural Development. And I have a passion for our local agriculture and our local community. I am currently one of the sitting executive secretaries for the Berkeley County Youth Fair Board. There are 7 elected positions for that, and I am currently one of those 2 secretaries on a 2-year term. A little about myself personally. I'm married, happily married for 7 years. I told you my husband hails from Hampshire County. We met in college, and we have 3 beautiful little redheads that are absolutely loving living on the farm, and they're super excited. There's a new calf this afternoon. Other than that, like I said, I'm heavily ingrained in the ag community. I work for TWG Insurance out of Winchester, Virginia now, and I was brought on to primarily focus on the agriculture business and work on making sure farmers are insured appropriately, and agriculture businesses are also insured appropriately for their operations and the different enhancements that they may need.
So you're kind of living this every day.
I live this every day.
some
You know,
form.
there's days I'm like, Dad, my brother lives on the farm too. We all live together, not together in one house. We all live on the farm together. That was my grandparents' wishes, was that each of us had a piece to live on. So my husband and I have 4 acres. My brother has his 4 acres and home, and then my parents have the home. We have just over 100 acres there on Tinsman Lane in Arden, and X45 in Arden-Altville Road right beside Oars. So yes, unfortunately, some days I full-blown live it. Dad called and said, I need you, so I go. So
That's right. That's what you're supposed to do.
that's right.
Dad calls, you better go.
You better go.
All right, we've just got some, a few questions, and we'll start with Commissioner Boyd, please.
I'll start with what I usually say is, are you pretty familiar with the program?
I'm not 100% versed in the program, but I think that brings a fresh perspective to the program, as I don't come in with my own preconceived notions of what it was or what I have been told over years. Just asking some folks in the general agriculture community, they said, oh, well, they're going to take all the rights away to my land. And I want to use this opportunity to educate the local agriculture community and our kids and students that are coming through the programs to teach them what the program actually is, and that we're not taking away your rights and your land. It's for the betterment of the agriculture community.
Yeah, and same question as we asked the other lady, Betsy. What would be your plans of any changes to policies, or you don't really need to just kind of get in and get your feet wet and then understand if there's any policies or anything that you'd like to change? I mean, I know that there's been some questions about, the land only being able to use for agriculture. Would it be able to be used for Parks and Rec, and also in, being locked down for perpetuity? Is there any thought processes of maybe there being some time limits put in some of the farmland protections and some of those policies?
And like I said, I'm not 100% versed on the policies. I'd like to get my feet wet and get in there and learn the policy very well before I could give my suggestion on something I would think needed to be changed. My heart and passion, and I think you can see that, is that we're protecting agriculture land, and my goal would be to protect that forever. I don't know that in my mind there should be a time constraint on that, but again, I'd like to see the policy to be able to review that. But at this moment, I know what I had to promise my grandfather before he passed was this farm's never going anywhere, and I would love for future generations to be able to have the same opportunities.
Very good. Are they, John?
Yes, thank you.
Where you go?
Sure. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Like I told the other candidate, I said that it takes a lot to run this county. And if wasn't for the volunteers that we do have, we would probably struggle a whole lot more. But again, thank you for coming in and wanting to take part and be part of the community that you live in.
Thank you so much for having me.
Mr. Kelly.
I met Beth Monday night at the farmland meeting, so pleasure to meet you then. And
Thank you.
you had a successful pool then this morning? You hear? It sounds
Yes,
like
the calf is alive when I left.
Right.
They were making sure to get all the
Oh, good. I
stuff
grew up
out.
in downtown Hedgesville, so I wasn't raised on a farm, but I married into my father-in-law raised beef cattle, and I helped him pull many calves over the years, and we always weren't so successful at times, so it's an interesting situation.
Kind of funny, a friend of mine had a calf on my birthday and named it Jimmy, so there you go.
There you go.
Tuesday later they ate it.
But we do appreciate your interest, and we've got a lot of young applicants for this position. We're only going to have 2 spots, and we've got 5 applicants. So, we do appreciate you being willing to serve our community. So, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Your interest is obviously special in this situation.
Thank you.
Well, Beth Pancoin.
Poncione.
Poncione. I knew it.
My husband's late grandfather would say it 100 different ways when you'd ask him. I think it depended on what day and what part of the Italian blood came out.
I knew better.
See,
I knew
now
better.
you got to understand, we were not making fun of your name. We were making fun of you.
Oh, it's fine.
Oh, absolutely.
He calls the
Make fun
Potomac
if you
River
need to.
Potomac River.
No, he doesn't. No,
What are you packing his open corn?
the rest of you be quiet. It's my turn to speak. So I'm very encouraged by the applicants that have come forward, and the youth and the just the excitement of the applicants that have come forward. So thank you for showing interest, and thank you.
Thank you so much for having me this morning.
What part of Hampshire County?
My husband's from Augusta. Their family lives right next to their fairgrounds in that county.
Cool.
My-
I've got some property in Slainsville. I love Hampshire County.
Okay, yeah, we have to go through Slainsville to get to them, but my husband's late grandfather was heavily involved in, ran for their county commission seat and also was the Raritan National President up there, so Poncione name there, everybody knows it.
I want to credit the interest in this board to Risa. I think everybody wants to work with Risa. She's such a nice person and does a good job, so I think Risa deserves the credit for all this interest here. So,
She is doing a
but we
great
do
job.
appreciate you, Risa, so thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you for being here, Beth.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right, next up, Gary Wine, discussion of the budget.
Yes, sir. So here you are with fiscal year 25-26 budget in front of you. Some minor modifications from your work session last week. The assessor gave us some updated numbers, no adjustments to any allocations. Revenue modified us a bit. It is what it is. The total projected revenue, I was focused on one of those read-aheads, sorry, is $54,397,403. This step is, you've already deliberated and kind of came to an agreement. If the commission chooses, you adopt it today. We send it to the state. They digest all of the work and make sure it's right. Next couple of weeks, they'll send it back, say approved, and then we wait till April 3rd, I think it's the 3rd Tuesday, and set the levy rate and off we go. So from my perspective, you've been presented, it is balanced, so you're ready to take the next steps that you see fit.
And that's at the current levy rate of $13.39, which
sir.
has not been changed.
No modification to the levy rate.
And Gary, is this correct? Once it's approved by the state, then it would be public record, and we could give a copy to whomever.
What's public record now? It's
It is as
in your
before it's
read-ahead.
approved? Okay.
It is public record. It was on your read-ahead. It's on the internet.
Okay.
It's not approved. It's still draft.
Right.
So you adopt it today. It goes to the auditor's office, and they confirm that we didn't make any mistakes, and they bless it. It comes back, gets finalized, and then you set the levy rate in April, and then off we go to June 30. Wait for July 1.
Well, to the rest of my commissioners, I would like to have this discussion, and I apologize that it's kind of like at the very end of our agenda to of the possible adoption of the budget. But I've been struggling with this for a little while, and this morning I started asking a lot more questions about what it would take for us to hire on 5 additional deputy sheriffs. The monies are not in this budget as presented, and it would take an increase in the levy rate from $13.39 to $13.92. I want to have this discussion. You know, we've said for 5 years, and even before this, my 5 years on this commission, public safety has been in the forefront, and I think that we've done a tremendous amount of work with great cooperation through a lot of different agencies. You know, we were able to increase our staffing on our EMS, so the north end, the south end, and the middle of the counties now have 2 crews on duty 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they're busy. We've been able to increase our fire staffing with the cooperation of the Berkeley County Fire Service Board to where we will have 2 paid firemen in every fire station 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with the exception of Becker Heights, which has 3. And when I came here, we had 60 deputies, and we've been able to get that number up to 68. When you do the math for law enforcement for our population, according to what the sheriff tells me, and I trust what the sheriff tells me, that number should be 140 instead of 68. So we're less than half of where we should be. I think that we need to have further discussion on this about trying to raise the additional revenues needed to hire 5 additional deputies that the sheriff has committed to putting them on the road. You know, currently the interstate is almost equivalent to the Autobahn. There's virtually no traffic work that's being done. Today, we have 15 state troopers that are on the road. That was because we just got 3 out of the new class that went through. They won't stay here. We will be back down to 12 within a certain amount of time, probably this summer sometime, more than likely. So it continues to put more pressure on the sheriff's office. I'm struggling with this, but I want your discussion. I want your input, and if we perhaps need to table this adoption of the budget until next week, I'm okay with that too. But I've been feeling the squeeze, and you know, this morning when I started asking Gary questions about what it would take to be able to do this, you know, and the difference in the increase it does on a $200,000 home, it takes it a $21 difference annually. So I need some input. I want to have discussion, and this is the place to do it. So.
Well, Mr. President, I'll be very honest with you. When you came to me with this morning, my first reaction was this is not something that I will support. I don't want to support raising the levy rate. Just because I don't support this does not mean I don't support public safety. It doesn't mean that I do not support our sheriff. I think if our sheriff had 5 deputies queued and ready to go, and we needed to move immediately to be able to fund these deputy sheriffs and to buy this equipment and buy these cars, that may be one point to look at. But the sheriff has had trouble hiring people. We just did a $340,000 raise to the sheriff's department and a $5,000 raise to every deputy. I would say that we have impact fees that are on the horizon that will probably be here sometime midsummer. There will be monies that will be generated from the impact fees that will go towards the sheriff's department. We are still diligently working in the legislature to maybe have the safety tax, or whatever you want to call it, the 1% tax, to go out for a public referendum. Now, I do know that's down the road a ways. That will not be available to us until the first general election, or maybe a primary election, which would be in '26, before those monies would be available. But I think that, obviously, I think that we do need to have more deputy sheriffs. I do think that we get the short end of the stick from the state. We do not receive the state police that we deserve. At one time, there was 47 state troopers in Berkeley County, and now we can barely manage 12. But I think with all of the new things that are on the horizons and the incomes that we may be able to generate, and also where there not being a direct and immediate need from the sheriff's department, because we don't have these people sitting in a queue. It could take up to 6 months to be able to hire these people, that I would not support raising the levy rate right now at this time.
Good. Any further discussion?
What impressed me the most when the sheriff spoke at the budget time this year, when he left the state police office, or his department here in Martinsburg in 2013 when he retired. He had 35 people under his wing, and now it's down to 15 in Berkeley County, so we've lost 20, which obviously all that pressure comes back on our local sheriff's department. I feel that if we were to raise it, we would only need to do it for the benefits and salaries and not for the equipment, because I'm hoping that by July 1st we'll have impact fees in place, and that the new hirees would qualify, the cars and those things and uniforms would qualify for impact fees if they're in place, and could cover that cost for us. So I think the rate that you suggested could be reduced in half or less than what is proposed, pay for everything. Because once you do that the first year, then after that, the cost is going to be less than half that anyway. So that would be my thought if we do it. But I would suggest we wait another week to adopt it and have more time to discuss this and look into it more and get a better feel for it.
Well, I think both your points are well taken, especially with the implementation, hopefully the implementation of the impact fees in July. So that is a possibility to be able to pay for those additional cruisers, because we're expanding our capacity as law enforcement. So,
and uniforms and guns and the whole bit, I would hope.
Outfitting costs.
Yeah, outfitting costs for those people. So,
which is nearly half of that request.
Yeah, it's more than half, I think. So, yeah. So
they're pretty close to even.
Yeah.
Mr. Whitaker, do you have any?
You know, thinking about it, this would have been in my tenure here, this would have been the second time we have raised the levy rate for needs that are facing the county. I would like to think about it for another week before we make a final decision on it, and just weigh it out a good bit, if you don't mind.
But I do like that idea of splitting that levy rate in half right there. That makes sense to me. Mr. Boyd?
Yeah, I think what Steve said it does go a long way. Your original proposal would be less than $2 a month per household over 200,000. If you cut that in half, it's less than $1 a month for a house over 200,000. I don't think that's a big ask to get the officers, but yeah, I think we should wait a week and mull it over and see what those numbers come up with the estimated with the impact fees, and see if we need to do that or not. I do recognize the big problem with the shortage of officers. You know, when we were in Charleston, I was speaking with a commissioner from Randolph County, and he was telling me how they have 80 plus officers, you know, and their population is 60,000, 65,000. You know, we got 130,000 here, and we got 68 officers. You know, so we're clearly in a short and with population difference, and we need to figure out some way to do it. And you know, yeah, there is the 1 cent thing out there, but you know that's still a long way down the road either way. So, I mean, to ask $1 a month, I don't think that's a whole lot, but I think we should give it a week, look it over, and then come back and make a decision.
Well, not only, service to the public, but also officer safety is
Yeah.
really important. So I'm going to ask that we table adopting the 25, 26
The next week?
until next Thursday.
One quick question before we
Yes, sir.
table this. Will you be able to provide us, I'm speaking to our administrator, would you be able to provide us with a full breakdown of cost of what it costs per officer, what it costs per equipment?
For sure.
And then also, I think we should probably base this on, I just did a quick research here, and if you realtor.com or Zillow, the West Virginia Berkeley County median home price is $296,000. So if we're going to base this on housing costs, let's base it on the housing cost that is the median housing cost in Berkeley County. We're going to base this on $296,000.
That's where it's at. So that $200,000, and just for a point of clarification, Mr. Boyd said the word above 200,000. That's at a $200,000 assessed value,
Okay.
which is 60% of market value, right?
Okay.
So you're real close, and I can do the exact math, do 290 at 60%, and then give you the value. But
All
that's
right.
where it should be real close to that, John. That's the number I used.
All right.
But
Thank you.
1,000%, you'll have all those numbers if you want.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Next week's agenda, Penny.
Well, a $300,000 home appraised would only be assessed at $180,000. That's how it works, so.
Okay, so we're going to need a motion to table the adoption of the 25, 26 budget until next Thursday.
I would make that motion to table it for a week.
I'll second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any further discussion? The only thing I have to add to it is I want to thank every one of you for your discussion, your input this morning. It's just been something that's it's been bugging me for a while, and I hated that we ran right down to the last minute with it, but that's the way it is, and we'll have this adoption of our budget next Thursday. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you. Okay.
Mr. President, let the record show that I was going to be a nay on that vote. Thank you.
There was no vote taken, sir. Your nay on
The
the
motion.
table?
Yeah.
Let the record show that Commissioner Hardy is a no vote on the table
motion.
of the motion. Health insurance renewal.
Thank you, Mr. President. So just kind of looking for consensus. So it's the time of the year where we start healthcare negotiations and renewal for the next fiscal year. If you recall, last year you had an increase that was passed on to the employees. We started last year with about a 25% recommended increase from Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. We negotiated it down. We made some concessions in your plans, but long story short, you passed off about a 4% increase to the employees on your plan last year. In that process, you have reduced your usage, your employees have reduced their usage, you have driven your costs down, you have bettered your position in the market for purpose of coverage to the tune of about 18%. And they came back again, the first meeting we had, with another 25% increase. They were defensive to say that, it seems like the market is there and we're sorry, but this is what the market has to offer. And my immediate reaction was, there's no way in the world my bosses are going to go to their employees and say, hey, you've done better. You sharpened your efforts. You haven't done this, you haven't done that, but yet we're faced with another premium. So I don't need a motion, but I am prepared and I have the document ready to publish tomorrow morning, and I hope that the consensus is go for it. But I would like to put our healthcare coverage on the street to see exactly what the market has to offer the Berkeley County Commission's employees. I'll continue to negotiate by me, Chad, Penny, continue to negotiate to see where we can get it to, but I'm not going to come to you without covering all the bases to see what's out there and say, hey, the 5% you just gave your employees, they now in turn need to give it to healthcare coverage. I'm not saying that we may or may not be misled. I'm just saying I think it's time that we ask the market what it has to offer your 403 insured folks. So unless you want to tell me, no, don't do that.
No, we've been flipping rocks, and this is one of them we need to flip as well.
I mean, you currently spend about $3.7 million on healthcare premiums, give or take, and then your HRA is balanced right now at about 1.3 million. So in just general conversations with some experts in the fields, I believe there probably are some options out there for us. But there isn't any way for you, the county commission, to know unless we put it on the streets in RFP and just see what's to be had. So unless you want to say, no, Gary, don't. I didn't want to put it on the street and then you be like, what in the world's going on? So this just starts the process. Our coverage ends June 30, so.
That's my question. It runs the same as our
It does,
fiscal year,
it
right?
does. So we're under the gun to get it done, but you have some great people on your staff that work really, really hard, and we've got some really good relationships in that field. So I think timeline is right. We'll continue down the road with Highmark and continue to see what it is. So we'll be guaranteed either way, switch or no switch, that your employees won't be jeopardized with regard to coverage.
Very good. Thank you. Yes, sir. I think the consensus will be to
Thank you.
go to the market and see what's happening.
It's the best way to
Do a
do
little
it.
shopping.
Right on.
Do we have any reason for
We
executive
do.
session?
We do for pending legal matters, please.
And will
Trouble
it
with
be?
health insurance, there's not a lot
no
of
action.
groceries on the shelves there.
Right.
There's not. I mean, there's very few options.
No action to be taken, Mr. President.
Okay. Okay, so items from the public. Come forward, sir.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
I have a question for the council, and it's being asked out of honesty because I looked into it and couldn't
Sean,
find
could you
out.
state your name just so she has it?
Sean Wilt. I've
Thank you.
been a resident of Berkeley County since '92. Transplant, I guess you could say. Has Berkeley County ever, especially say maybe in the past 10 years, had an independent, full third-party done audit books? Return on investment that we get from the money that's spent budget? Yes or no question?
There is an audit done annually.
Required by law.
Is that done by a third-party organization that the results of it are published publicly?
Yes,
Yes.
sir. Every one of them.
When was the last time?
Every fiscal year, last year. Happens every year.
Every year there's a forensic audit done of Berkeley County.
I didn't say the word forensic. Every year we meet compliance of the state auditor's office by
That's
having
not
an
the same
audit.
thing.
So your answer is no.
Okay. So as.
But
a
we are
taxpayer-
audited by the state auditor's office,
Right.
through that, which we are statutorily,
Required to do,
required to
yeah,
do,
I know how the
yes.
process works. So as a taxpayer and a voter, I think Berkeley County needs to have one, in all honesty, because you guys, I come to the meetings and I understand, believe me, I'm not sitting in your shoes and I'm not gonna say that I understand what it's like to make decisions for a county. But we're always talking about how we need money and how the state doesn't help us out and all these other excuses. But yet, we find the money for things like dog parks and walking trails and reconversions of buildings that should have been demolished and had something new put up in its place that probably would have cost less or maybe about the same amount of money and would have been a lot more better in terms of time. We pay $200,000 a year to a lobbyist to go to the state capitol and lobbying for Berkeley County. How many deputies? It might not be many. It might only be 2, maybe 3 if we're fiscally responsible. But how many deputies could her salary pay for? What kind of return investment are we getting from her for her $200,000 a year? Is it actually something tangible that's maybe say like 10, 15 times what we pay her that we actually get as a return on investment for her salary? Or is it just because of the fact of that she happens to be a local state politician's wife? That's why we need to have an actual third-party, independent audit done. If Berkeley County can find $200,000 a year to pay her salary, they can find the money to pay for an audit like that, an actual forensic audit that looks at what's being done and what the money's being spent on in detail with what those things are for. I think the people of Berkeley County deserve something like that. I pay taxes. Don't get me wrong. I know I don't pay a lot of taxes, and I know my taxes probably don't pay for much. But I'm one drop in the bucket of, what, 130,000 people that live here? And we're all taxpayers, no matter what. Our money goes towards this stuff. We have the right to know what it's going to, and I understand that we have a state audit process that we go through, but my understanding is basically that boils down to, as long as our numbers add up correctly, that don't draw anyone's attention, it gets passed. It comes back here, and then you vote on it.
I'm going to ask you to wind this up, Mr. Will.
I was done, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Very good. Thank you, sir. Need a motion to go to executive session?
So moved, Mr. President.
We're in executive session. right, we're back in session. There will be no action taken. Let the record show there was nobody in the audience for items from the public. I need a motion to recess.
Mr. President, I move that we recess.
We're in recess.
I just got a text.
Hold on.